martial arts sensation Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, the true story of the ultimate champion.
Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of the Monday Morning Directing Podcast. I'm your host, Hobo, as always, and with me I have Ricky. How are you doing, Ricky?
You know, I just keep on keeping on.
All righty. So for this episode, we're doing, what are we doing?
We're doing Jean-Claude Van Damme's breakthrough film, Bloodsport.
Yeah. So I think that we're both in agreement that Bloodsport is definitely a worse movie than Red Dawn was.
It is quite horrible, actually.
Like it's not great. It's not great. It's not great.
Red Dawn can make up for like the action set pieces. This movie cannot.
Yeah, the like where Red Dawn succeeds in being like this spectacle that's got a very poor story. Bloodsport does not succeed at being a big spectacle, and it still has a very poor story. So I think we should go a little bit into, I guess, the background of this movie. As you kind of learn from the very ending of the movie, Bloodsport is based off of a true story. Or at least is supposedly based off of a true story. And I told you this earlier in the week that the real story behind Bloodsport is actually far crazier than the movie. And are you ready for the big reveal?
What is the big reveal?
The big reveal is that it's all completely fake. Frank Dukes is a complete and total like con artist. He made it all up.
Wait, what?
He tricked a bunch of Hollywood directors into thinking that it was real. He tricked Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, you know, he claims that he fought in 329 death matches and won every single one, some of them in 0.2 seconds. He claimed that he was trained at the age of 13 by a real ninja. And then he claimed that he became a U.S. Special Forces operative and won the Medal of Honor, even though he has not won the Medal of Honor. And in fact, he didn't even serve in the military at all. In fact, he was investigated by the FBI at one point in the 80s. And they've, because he was wearing all of these military badges when he didn't earn it. And they recommended to the, I think the district attorney in California or wherever he was, that he be prosecuted. So he's like,
that, you know what? Props to him for conning the studio.
Okay. So this was in like the 80s, right? So this is like before the UFC, when anybody
back when you can just get away with anything.
Yeah, when fake martial arts were everywhere. And there were a lot of con artists. Just before Frank Dukes was what was the guy's name? Count Juan Rafael Dante, who claimed that he had the ability to kill bulls just by touching them in the right pressure points and all this other stuff. In fact, the Black Dragon Fighting Society, which is supposedly the origin of the Kumite tournament in Bloodsport, was founded by Count Juan Rafael Dante, whose real name was something. He was Irish. He claimed to be a exiled member of Spanish nobility. He was just from Ohio.
What, Frank Dukes or this other guy?
This other Juan Rafael Dante. Frank Dukes is also just from Ohio or something like that.
Fucking Ohio.
Yeah, it's I don't know actually where. But he's not actually he doesn't know how to fight. He's not actually special forces. He's not a ninja. Yeah.
And fucking You know what? That has the same like aged like milk value that the ending credits of like Rambo 3 have, which is like this movie's dedicated to the hard workers of the Mujahideen.
Yeah. Um,
But that's
it's
funnier.
yeah, no, it's like Frank Dukes um is yeah, it was complete and total BS. And so the the entire movie is based off of some guy's like made up fantasy that he was trying to tell people to make them think that he was cool. Um and they believed it. Um to the point where um and like he told a lot of people this, like it wasn't just like Hollywood directors and stuff, like supposedly this was an anecdote that I had heard about a long time ago, so I hope that I'm getting it correct, but supposedly he was out like hunting or camping with these guys, and they were like out in the middle of the woods, and Frank Dukes just kind of stands up and he's like, I'm gonna go, there's this thing called a kumite I'm gonna go to, this martial arts tournament, I'll be back, right? And then he leaves for like 2 days, and then he comes back 2 days later with like a trophy, right? And
He
they were
just
like, oh
walked to the trophy store.
no, like it's crazy because there's a receipt that this trophy maker created, like presented to some reporters from I think like the LA Times or something. Um and they have like actual proof that the Kumite trophy that he supposedly earned um like was just he ordered it right then on the spot. Like it wasn't even, um and like at the end of Bloodsport, you see he's awarded with this sword, right? Um, and supposedly the reason why he doesn't have that sword anymore is because he sold it, freeing a bunch of Filipino children from slavery because they were enslaved by pirates. You, I would say you cannot make this up, but he did. So it's it's really um it's really really like weird because Bloodsport is a pretty iconic movie. It kind of I mean it directly led to the creation of the Mortal Kombat video games, which I
That's
know
good.
you and I are a big fan of. Because the original Mortal Kombat was supposed to be a Bloodsport tie-in, and then they pulled the rights last minute. And that's how you get Mortal Kombat, because Johnny Cage, he does the splits and he punches people in the balls. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Um, and
I did you notice the arcade machine that Jean-Claude Van Damme and what's
I
his name,
did.
like Roy Jackson,
Yes.
they're playing?
Yes.
He's playing on single player.
Yes.
Did you notice that?
Yes, I did. And that video game is actually called Karate Champion. I owned it for the NES. It's not a good game.
Yeah.
But I guess we should get into the actual plot of the movie with that sort of disclaimer out of the way, that in case you thought like that this actually happened, it didn't. um you know uh so the movie focuses around Frank Dukes, played by Jean-Claude Van Damme. By the way, Frank Dukes is nowhere near as handsome as Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like he's a very
Let me pull up an image of him. What the hell does
he's a
Frank
very
Dukes look like?
he's a very plain looking man. I mean, he's not, I mean, I don't mean to call the guy ugly or anything, but like he's like he's not Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know what I mean? He's not like this handsome buff European movie star guy.
Yeah,
Um
he looks like a fraud.
yeah, I mean, like you can tell by like the outfit that he's wearing, and like he claims to be a ninja and he can kill people using his bare hands, and all this other thing, and like the dim mock, that sort of, like it's all
When did he get outed?
he got outed in like the 90s. Like this wasn't even like you know like I think he might have even been outed like before Bloodsport came out, but it wasn't really like well known because it was pre-internet. um but yeah, so it stars Frank Dukes, who goes and he's as a kid he's trained by
God.
a ninja master of um what is referred to as martial science. And by the way, martial
Do you
science is
know
not
that?
a
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
wait. Okay, you know the guy who trains him?
Yeah.
He plays Lao in Temple of Doom. Remember, Indy is
Oh
in
yeah.
Shanghai, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
and he's just like, ha ha ha, Dr. Jones for the poison you just drank, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
he's just,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that was
Um,
it's a cool thing I noticed.
yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, Forrest Whitaker is in this movie as well, which I
I
wasn't
know
expecting.
he actually acted pretty well.
Yeah,
Like
he did
he
good.
did his job. Yeah,
His role was kind of weird, but we'll get to that later.
yeah.
So he's trained by a ninja. He befriends the ninja's biological son, and he gets basically adopted by the ninja. Um, and like the
While
biological
still
son,
having his very French, like his own French family.
yeah, which is weird.
Yes.
But and so he gets adopted by this ninja. Um, the ninja son dies.
In
And
the
the ninja,
Kumite, right? He
not in the
dies.
Kumite. He just, they don't even explain how he dies.
No, no, no. Doesn't he die? Didn't
Does
he
he die
try
in
to?
the Kumite? Did
Yeah,
I misunderstand that part?
I think he went to the Kumite before, and he ends up getting killed, maybe by
Oh,
Chung Li,
okay.
but I'm not sure.
Probably not by Chong Li, but yeah, probably. Okay, so he gets killed in the Kumite. The ninja decides to train Frank. Trains him. He's then suddenly in the army, goes AWOL to join the Kumite, fights in the Kumite, befriends this weird like trucker guy,
Roy
Roy
Jackson,
Jackson.
or is it Ray Jackson?
Roy Jackson.
It's Ray Jackson.
Is it Ray Jackson?
Yeah, it's Ray Jackson.
Dang it. Befriends this trucker guy named Jackson. And he wins the Kumite and also like falls in love with a reporter for some reason. Like there's not a lot going on here.
It's so bare bones.
Yes.
It's the acting is not really good at all.
Yep.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, I would say, is the highlight. I think
Sure.
he kind of has the same charm that Arnold has, in the terms that he's like a muscular foreign guy. So even though he may not pronounce things correctly and shit, it still flies with the audience. You know,
Right.
they'll still go with it.
And I will say I find Jean-Claude Van Damme's accent to be far more what's the word?
It's not bad. Like you know what he's saying is actually pretty clear.
No, it's not as thick as Arnold's.
Yeah.
And it's you know, so his accent isn't really you know, I mean it's still there, you know what I mean? And it's enough for you to be like, oh, he's French, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like his Jean-Claude does okay. You know, I mean he doesn't have a whole lot to work with, but he's okay. Now my big thing, number one, straight up, is what the hell is the Kumite? They never really explain it, right? Because they go into this whole thing that it was like created by the Black Dragon Fighting Society, which, by the way, is kind of a thing in real life, but all of the members of the Black Dragon Fighting Society are all also con artists. But it was supposedly created by this Black Dragon Fighting Society to test the strength of all of their members. And now somehow it's open to everybody. And also like the triad is involved. And it's weird because on one hand, it's run or at least sponsored by the triad, right? But it's also run by like a secret like fighting society, but then reporters know about it, but they don't really know about it, right? The government knows about it, of both America and Hong Kong. They know about it. Seems like everybody kind of knows about it, but they're still trying to be secretive.
Yeah, this not so secret society where it's just like people beating each other to death.
Yeah, it's just, you know, and it's like, it's weird too, because it's like, supposedly if he wins the Kumite, he'll be bringing his master honor, but it's run by the triad and there's like people gambling on it. You know what I mean? Like it seems very like, you know, it seems like a very shady enterprise, but he's like supposed to bring him and his style honor somehow by doing that. Like it's a bit nebulous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the whole tournament honestly it's just like a MacGuffin. Like it's just there to get things like moving. Honestly, it wasn't really done too well. Honestly, like you look at the people running the tournament, they just seem like normal people, nothing really secretive. Like they just seemed like, just a bunch of guys.
Yeah, but it's held in like this back alley, but there's also like this weird like thing with it. They don't do a good enough job of explaining the kumite. Just so that you know, kumite in karate, kumite is basically it's just full contact sparring. And so when Frank Dukes made up this story, what he was saying was that he would go into the woods where there was just a meeting of all of these karate guys and they would spar and he beat them all, even though the point of sparring is that it's not a competition, but that's besides the point because Frank Dukes doesn't really understand how legit martial arts work.
Who do you think would win, Steven Seagal or Frank Dukes?
Oh, Steven Seagal.
Really, with Aikido?
Because I mean, like most Aikido is not useful. You know what I mean? There are some moves in it that are actually like that see application, but they're very niche. You know what I mean? But Frank Dukes like literally is like saying that he's a ninja. You know what I mean? And he thinks, or I don't know that he thinks this, but he's claiming that if he does like the 5-finger death punch, then he'll stop your heart. You know what I mean? And Steven Seagal is like kind of big. You know what I mean? I'm sure that Steven Seagal, like in his I say his prime, but like in his 30s, like was at least strong enough that he'd be able to like push him around a little bit. Frank Dukes is not really yeah, I mean, but it's yeah, so I mean the kumite as a tournament, right? In my version, I would probably define it better, right? Figure out what you go for. Because Frank Dukes' story tries to go for like making it as I guess like exotic and cool as possible, right? But in doing so, that makes it very unrealistic because it's so over the top, right? Like it's not believable at all. But if it's for a movie, right? If it was me, I would have the kumite be keep it still run by the triad, right? And you have all the people betting, and that way you have like the crowd gets behind Frank Dukes as he like gets better, or as he does better in the tournament, and he starts beating people, and the crowd gets behind him. But then I don't know, I'd make it so that he isn't doing it for like the honor of his master or anything. Make it like use the Filipino pirate storyline, right? He's getting the money to free a bunch of Filipino kids from slavery because they're being enslaved by pirates.
All I'm saying is like you can cut out the first 20 minutes of the movie and have it just him be on like a plane and he's like reading the letter from his, I'm just going to call him Lau. I'm sorry. I'm just going to call him Lau because that's all I know him from. He's just reading the letter from Lau.
I think his name in the movie is Takeda or something like that. It's Japanese. It starts with a T.
I will call him by his better role.
Okay, sure.
in Temple of Doom. So like you just have it like he's just reading like a letter from him on the plane ride to the Kumite, and then you just start the movie like that. I honestly feel like the whole intro thing was like, I don't know if it was like filmed after the rest of the movie. It definitely feels super like you could film all of this in like 2 days type feel. That first like 20 minutes, because it was rushed. I hated the child actor for Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
He was really, really bad.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how he got the job.
He's a child actor. You know what I mean? Especially, you figure it's not a super big budget film in the 80s. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's like they found a random French kid off the street and was like, "Hey, you want to be in Bloodsport?"
I don't know. I wouldn't expect too much from it. And so, going into the tournament, right? Like he's on the plane, right? He arrives in China. Then what happens?
So he arrives in China, and then
in Hong Kong, rather.
In Hong Kong, and then is that when he goes to the hotel, right? The alleyway.
Yep.
And he's going down the super weird alley. Well, actually, no. First, he goes to the hotel.
Yeah, he goes to the hotel and he meets Jackson.
He meets Jackson, and then he meets the guy that's like his handler. That's like the North American handler guy.
Right.
Yeah, he meets them, and then you kind of get if I remember correctly, is the reporter introduced there as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Well, he
God.
doesn't meet
Yeah.
her until
That.
later.
Wait, he doesn't meet her there.
Yeah, she's there, but he doesn't meet her until afterwards. He doesn't
Okay.
meet her until after he does the brick breaking thing, and then the Middle Eastern guy who's played by an Asian guy comes in and
Yes.
is hitting on her.
Yes.
Insane.
Actually, his accent sounded a bit more Russian to me at times.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing there.
Yeah.
You can tell that he was obviously dubbed over.
Yes. A lot of the dubbing was not good in this movie.
No, it's not great. But I don't know. I feel like the scene where they're questioning his legitimacy, right, and he has to break the bricks, it's a bit odd to me. I would have cut that out.
I mean, it's like, are you really part of the Tanaka clan? They're like, just
Tanaka,
like show.
that's his name.
There's like, show me the secret move of the Tanaka. Yeah, I was just like, what? This is weird.
Yeah. I wouldn't have had that. What else would you have done in your version, I guess?
Like maybe make the other fighters also somewhat interesting.
Yep.
First of all, Ray Jackson doesn't have a fighting style. He is just swinging.
Yep.
I like it. Shouldn't that be like a prerequisite, or is it just straight up like, hey, you want to punch something, you can come here?
See, that's another weird thing, is that like Jackson is allowed in, right? But he's not from any like, mysterious fighting style, right? But then Frank Dukes has to prove himself. It's like, why? You know what I mean? Like in my version, right, the Kumite is run by the Triad, right? And Frank Dukes is there for money, but it's for like a charitable cause, right? So he goes AWOL from the military because the U.S. government isn't doing anything about these children, I guess, in this scenario. And so he goes there, right? And he goes AWOL to get the money to free these kids. To me, Bloodsport really feels like a just strictly worse version of Enter the Dragon, right?
Chong Li is in Enter the Dragon,
yeah,
right?
I'm aware.
Yeah, I was like, wait, isn't that the guy that like breaks that guy's back in that one fight? I'm like, oh, it is him.
Yep.
Yeah,
he's the same, just like super buff. I mean, that dude is jacked. Like
he is jacked.
Like super buff guy. And so he looks very good on screen. You know what I mean? Because his pecs are the size of most people's heads. Like it's ridiculous. He's a big boy. But he goes to the Kumite, right? But yeah, like I feel like I would have I would do the thing that they do in like most anime tournament arcs, right? Where you have all of these different people from different walks of life, all of their different styles, right? Some of them are I guess more villainous than others, right? But you have them all kind of there, and just give them each like a little bit of time to kind of like show like what their personality is like, why they're there, what their fighting style is, because like they have like a couple guys that are of like they kind of have like interesting ways that they fight. I just wish that they were given a little bit more attention. Like there's the one like sumo kind of guy that he punches in the balls. I think he's supposed to be kind of like sumo, but he doesn't really fight like sumo.
Then there's a guy that's like on all fours.
Yeah, there's like the all four, like the I don't know. He's shown in the very beginning, like training in the jungle and stuff, and he's like breaking pots. And then I don't know if you noticed, but there's a guy named Paco, and he's you can tell by his shorts. Most people wouldn't I guess notice this, but you can tell by his shorts that he's a Muay Thai fighter. And you can tell by his stance and the way that he kicks and stuff. I'd like to see what Paco's doing. You know what I mean? Like why is Paco here? What's he like? You know what I mean? But they don't really give any screen time to anybody except for Jackson, Frank, and Chong Li.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like it would be a good idea to cut out like that opening stuff where he's doing all of the training
Yep.
to kind of like give yourself more room for that. But on the other hand, I kind of wanted to see him like develop and actually grow attached, like see the relationship between um the son and Frank, you know what I mean? So that, you know, maybe um there's
Wait, the
more emotional.
son?
Yeah,
Who?
the son, the ninja's son.
Oh,
Like,
the who dies?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
because there's like that one scene where like he stands up to bullies somehow, but like
Yeah, and
is
there's like,
supposed to be
I'm
better
gonna
at
show
martial
my
arts.
father in the Kumite, or he says some
Well,
line like that.
but the son is supposed to be the guy who is actually like the trained martial artist, but then Frank has to come in and save him from bullies. It's like, well then, you
It's
know,
weird.
what's with that? Um, and so I don't know. So to me, this thought that I had, I kind of like your idea better, where like you just cut it down to give more room for other stuff, because otherwise the movie would be very long.
And then you allot those 20 minutes you cut as development for like a couple other guys.
Yeah. But my initial thought was, like you show them, I don't know, make it kind of like Karate Kid, I guess, almost. Where,
Karate Kid, okay.
you know what I'm saying?
I was thinking about Karate Kid while watching this movie, right? And I was thinking about the fight scenes in Karate Kid a lot. When when Daniel gets cornered by Cobra Kai, right?
Right.
After doing the prank at the Halloween dance,
Yep. Yep.
and he's getting beat up. That
Yep.
looks like he's getting beat up. Like I
Yep.
feel that like
Yep.
a common technique, I don't know if they use this in Karate Kid, is where they will cut out the frame right before impact, or
Right.
like a frame out.
Yep.
So it skips a frame and it looks like he's punching a lot harder than he actually did.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
might have done that, but like when he's getting beat up, he's getting beat up. Those fights, I saw like contact and stuff. It looked good.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Comparatively, Karate Kid looks very good.
Yep.
Because you kind of have like the on one hand of like fight scenes, right? You have the I guess more Hollywood-esque Karate Kid, like very tightly edited fight scenes, right? Where
Yep.
you know, they do a lot of tricks with like camera angle switches and things like that. But personally, I'm a bigger fan of like the old school 70s Shaw Brothers kung fu movies, where um it's a lot more difficult to pull off because it requires you to have actors who are very well trained acrobats and martial artists, and you know, that kind of thing, where you know they actually have some semblance of knowing what they're doing. But when you look at like these old school Shaw Brothers kung fu movies, like the 36 Chambers of Shaolin or
Yeah, that's good.
Five Deadly Venoms, the fight scenes, there's like barely any cuts. It's all like almost like one or two shots, and it's just like this insanely well choreographed scene, that you know, the weight behind some of the strikes isn't necessarily there, and that's why they add in like the sound effects, you know what I mean, the you know what I mean.
Yep.
But I'm a big fan of that. Like there, I think that that's something that you kind of miss in a lot of these modern Hollywood films, because it's so heavily edited that sometimes you can't even really tell what's going on super well. You know what I mean? Um, and so, you know, I'm a sucker for that thing. So in Bloodsport, um, I would have had it be like that, or maybe even similar to how Bruce Lee did a lot of his fight scenes, which is kind of similar to the Shaw Brothers style, but it's not as uh intricately choreographed, you know what I mean? And it's a little bit more like Bruce Lee did so much for um the representation of martial arts in cinema, because he uses like legit technique, you know what I mean? Like he throws
Yeah.
a punch the way that you would normally throw a punch, um rather than like the super exaggerated Hollywood cowboy movie like wind up, then he goes spinning, and then you know he falls to the ground, and you know, and so it's not as exaggerated, um and
Or
you
like
know,
a Jackie Chan film that is
right,
super tightly choreographed.
right, yeah, the Hong
Yeah.
Kong style of doing fight scenes I'm a big fan of. And you know, I mean, I it would have been cool if Bloodsport did that, but it's Hollywood, so I don't expect them to do that. Um but the way that I would have had the um I guess Kumite play out, right? I would reduce it down to you get 8 good characters, right? Instead of just having all these like random guys who are there for like a couple seconds as there's a
Yeah.
fight and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would bring it like boil it down to 8 good characters. Those characters don't have to be given a lot of time, but give me like something. You know what I mean? I don't know. You've never seen Dragon Ball, have you?
No, wait.
Um,
The movie or the show?
the anime.
Okay, because we're talking about movies here, and when you said Dragon Ball, I thought about the movie for a second.
No, no, no,
I'm just
no,
like,
no, 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 no,
no, I have not seen that one for a
no,
second. I
no.
no, I have I have seen maybe like an episode of Dragon Ball
Okay.
before.
Well, what I really like about anime, but Dragon Ball in particular, is like tournament arcs. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like the first and the third Tenkaichi from the original Dragon Ball is super good. And you know, they don't necessarily give all of the combatants like a whole lot of time. But that's because some of the combatants have already been introduced earlier in the show. But the combatants that you see, right, they have like their own kind of unique thing that the characters have to figure out how to defeat. And I kind of like that in Bloodsport, there's the thing where Jackson is about to fight Chun-Li, and Frank is like, okay, you should go for his body, right? Because his body's weak. Stay away from his right leg because that's his power leg, right? Um,
And then Jackson promptly just ignores what he said.
yeah. Because you know Jackson is kind of an idiot. You know what I mean? He's just a big brute. He doesn't have a fighting style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's his thing. And so you know, if you had more of that, but put that for every single fight in the tournament, I think that would have been way better. And I don't know. There's a part of me that feels like it would be kind of cool as a TV show because there are so many, specifically anime that do martial arts tournaments really well, like Dragon Ball and Baki and King and Ashura. Like those are all really good examples of how you can do a tournament in those cases a TV show, but how you can do a tournament arc and in Kengan Ashura and in Baki in particular, um, the tournament is written so well because they really do a good job of making it seem like everybody has a chance. Um, like in here's a massive spoiler for Kengan Ashura. If you ever plan to watch or read Kengan Ashura, which I highly recommend, it's my favorite anime slash manga of all time. Um, the main character doesn't win the tournament. Same thing with Dragon Ball. Goku doesn't win the first Tenkaichi that he's in. Um, and
Who
you know,
wins in the Tenkaichi?
it's actually his. So it's Goku's Master Roshi,
Oh,
disguised
Roshi's.
disguised as a guy named Jackie Chun. It's great.
Why
because
is
the
Roshi in the tournament? Okay,
Well,
we're getting
because-
on a tangent.
Yes, but the entire reason that Roshi gets into the tournament is because his students Goku and Krillin are entering the tournament, and he knows that they're super strong, and he knows that if they go to the tournament, they're going to win. But because they're both like, you know, they're both like 12, 13 years old, he knows that if they win at that point, then their ego will get so inflated that they won't train and get any stronger than they are at that point. So he disguises himself as Jackie Chun and he beats them so that they have a reason to keep training and get stronger, because that way, you know, they realize that there are people out there who are stronger than them, which is really cool. But anywho, back to Bloodsport. It's very difficult to talk about it because there's so many other movies and TV shows that kind of do a similar concept much better.
So
Enter
many
the
more
Dragon,
movies.
Karate Kid, Dragon Ball, like they all kind of do this concept, which is a very appealing concept, right? And it's kind of what the original UFC was kind of based off of, right? You have all these people from different styles, all walks of life. They get together and they just fight to see who the best guy is. You know, and that inspired like a bunch of video games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and you know, it's a very cool concept. And so yeah, I would develop more time with the characters, other than the three that you see. Like I'd kind of like to see like what's Chong Li's deal. You know what I mean? Like why is he the way he is? Because he's like real sadistic. You know what I mean? Like he has beaten people and then he chooses to kill them after he's already basically won. You know
But
what I mean?
he's killing them.
He kills the one guy.
Does he kill anyone in that tournament?
Yeah, he does. He snaps the guy's neck. And
Oh.
then that's when they're all silent. And then he goes up to Frank and he's like, "You're next." You know what I mean? And that's like the first time that he speaks the entire movie.
It's also like very horribly dubbed and very much an English
Yes.
guy saying "you're next."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I wonder what got Chong Li that way. I think it would be cool if like maybe you showed something like Chong Li's master was like this really like sadistic guy who was just like, you know, training him like a madman, you know what I mean? And it made Chong Li strong, but Chong Li has all of like this repressed hatred inside and he takes it out on the people that he fights. You know what I mean? Like something like that.
Also, like he cheats at the end, right?
Yeah.
Which I was like, all right, like
But he doesn't get disqualified, even though it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious. Or like it's like the judges are just watching Van Damme. It's like, why does he suddenly look like he's a blind man?
Yeah, why does he suddenly look like well, but you can see the powder, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah, you can see the powder. I guess the judges were just like, I don't know what the fuck they were doing.
It's like you know, they could have done the thing that they do in pro wrestling where like they like distract the referee, you know what I mean? Like distract the referee and then you pull up the in wrestling it's called Asian mist. It's the same kind of thing. You distract the referee, then you spray the Asian mist in their eyes and then they're blinded and the referee turns back around and it's like, "Oh, I don't know what happened." You know what I mean? So I mean, and there's a lot of little moments like that you could have done better with the fights. But in terms of like the overall story, I think I would have cut out the romantic subplot because it does literally nothing. You know what I mean?
Yep. We do actually like we do get the ass shot of Van Damme, right?
Yeah, we do. We do get to see Van Damme's bare naked butt, so I guess that makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like it's just like
it was so out of place. I honestly did not expect
the entire subplot contributed nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Frank Dukes like gets like insight that helps him win the tournament after that. You know what I mean? And it's not done in a way that that makes you root for the characters like they do in like Karate Kid, right? So I'd cut that out entirely. I'd also probably cut out the entire subplot with the government agents with Forrest Whitaker. Like I don't know what the point of that is. Like they're trying to like say like
also there's
in America.
Yeah, we're like we've invested too much money into you, and then they don't delve into like why. Like what is this whole deal? Like
that's what
is
I mean.
He some like best soldier ever type deal?
Like it would be one thing if he was like if they just made him a full-on John Rambo where like the reason why he's so good at fighting is because the government made him that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they're like, we got to get him back, right? But they show you he's trained by a ninja. The government has nothing to do with it. It's just more of the real life Frank Dukes being a con artist trying to say that he's both a ninja and worked for the U.S. government and all these other, you know what I mean? So maybe you could have him just be like cut out the entire ninja stuff if you're going to cut out that beginning part and just say that he's like a full-on John Rambo type where like he's like a trained to kill guy who's just really good in unarmed combat. And maybe make it so that like he has experience in all of these like foreign war zones, like he was in Vietnam and or whatever else you want to have him do, you know what I mean? And then he has the Filipino children, right? He's going to the Kumite to save the orphans and to get the money from the triad. I think what would also be kind of interesting, right?
Wait, in your version, how would he even know the Filipino children?
He just finds them somehow. Like, he's
on a covert special ops mission. Okay.
Yeah. And then, he finds all these children and he's like, I got to get these children out of here. But the government is like, we can't risk you getting caught and, all this other stuff.
We can't put our troops on Filipino soil.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
And so he's like, fine, I'll do it myself. And he goes AWOL, you know what I mean? it's very, you know, that's very cheesy and very 80s, but you know, I think it works better than nothing.
It works better than them actually trying to do something emotional or something. It doesn't work because it's
Does
very
nothing.
horrible.
Um, and so
A lot of the fights were really stupid. Like, what was the one where it's him and the guy and they're just kicking each other?
that was Paco. That was the TIE fighter.
I was like,
He
what?
well,
What?
he's not
What am
actually
I
TIE. I think he's
watching?
supposed to be well, so it's kind of a weird thing because again, they do nothing to explain it, but it's something that you kind of see sometimes in Muay Thai. But Muay Thai is different because there's an entire system where body kicks score you points. And so you know, and these Muay Thai fighters are so well conditioned that they just eat kicks to the body like nothing. And so like you'll just see guys like firing kicks back and forth and you know, to score points on each other. And they just blast each other. And I think that that's what they were trying to do, but like out of context, it looks bad too because they're not actually hitting each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like if you see like actual Muay Thai fights, like they blast each other hard. Like it is really, really crazy. But you know, that's not what's going on here. Um, yeah, I don't
It's
know. There's just so much extra periphery stuff going on, and I feel like if you just shave it down to like focusing on the tournament itself, I think it would make it better.
it honestly seemed like the people behind the movie did not understand like multiple fighting styles at all.
Oh no. I mean, again, this is pre
Based
UFC.
off like Frank Dukes also just
Yeah,
blatantly lying to them.
yeah. This is pre UFC. Like, they have the Muay Thai guy. They had two actually. One of them fought Chong Li and lost, and then the other one fought.
Is
Frank
that the
Dux.
one who breaks his leg?
Yeah.
Oh.
And or at least I think he's supposed to be Muay Thai. Like his shorts kind of look like Muay Thai shorts. It's not as obvious as Paco. But yeah, like I don't know. Even you can make up styles. You know what I mean? Like you see that in a lot of Shaw Brothers movies. Like the Five Deadly Venoms is a great movie. I think. I mean, it's not without its flaws. Maybe that could be a future episode. Five Deadly Venoms. Anywho, so Five Deadly Venoms is five different fighting styles that are supposedly from the Poison Clan. And these are not real fighting styles, right? But they look cool and they kind of make sense. Like just as an example, you have the centipede style, which is he strikes so fast it's like you're being hit by 100 limbs at once. You know what I mean? Which is, you know, that's cool, right?
Or
so you can
or look at like Drunken Master. That's not a fucking fighting style.
it is real.
Drunken Master is real.
Drunken Master Kung Fu, yeah. I mean, it's not effective, right? Like, you know, you never see anyone using it like
Yeah,
in real
no
life,
shit. Getting wasted's not effective.
but like those forms that you see in all of the Jackie Chan movies, that's actual kung fu.
Oh, I did
but-
not know Drunken Master or what is it called?
Yeah, Drunken Master.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a real style of kung fu. And I mean, most kung fu isn't like effective in real life fighting, but it is an actual historical style of fighting that's really more of an art form than it is like a fighting system, if that makes sense. But yeah, Drunken Master is real. And so you know, you can make up stuff, you can bring in, you know, bring in people who actually know what they're doing instead of con artists. But I mean, I suppose at the time they didn't know any better.
Honestly, because this movie is based on bullshit, I might have to say for my version, you just start over from scrap.
Oh, for
like,
sure. Yeah.
Like there's no way I can logically, I don't think I can.
No.
I can make it slightly better, but I don't think I can make this into a good movie given.
No. Yeah. You can't. You got to. This is like one of the few times where like you look at a movie and you're like, they should have gone farther away from the source material.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Jesus Christ.
It's like, man, like it was, you know.
Yeah, you know, so apparently the writer, Sheldon Leitch, I think is how you say his name. So he knew Frank Dukes, right?
Yep.
And then Frank told him all the stories. And then apparently Frank introduced him to a guy named Richard Bender, who claimed to have been at the Kumite, right?
Yeah.
That was all fake, right? So
Yep.
later on, Bender would have a falling out with Frank, and he just confessed to, I think, Leitch that everything was made up.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's all BS. And so I think that's all of the thoughts that I have, because it's not that this movie is it's not that it's unredeemable, because the concept is very cool, right? It's just that there's so much extra stuff that the Frank Dukes introduced that makes no sense, that it muddles the entire thing. And so I don't know. Is there anything else that you have? Any other ideas for this movie? Anything else that you would have done differently?
I got an actual couple fun facts about this movie. Do you know what a golden raspberry is?
No clue.
Okay, so they do that. They give that award out yearly to like the worst performance.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Van Damme was nominated for a golden raspberry, but guess who he lost to?
Who did you lose to?
Ronald McDonald for Mac and Me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. The fucking like E.T. ripoff movie.
Oh my goodness.
I know. He lost to him.
Yeah.
And my second fun fact, this is apparently former US President Donald Trump's favorite movie. Bloodsport.
I mean,
it's really not rewatchable. I'm like, God, this movie was pretty.
No, it's not great. I mean, no offense, if you like it. Because it's not the worst movie in the world, right?
Yeah, it's not.
It was like I was able to watch it from start to end without like me like wanting to turn it off. You know what I mean? It wasn't terrible.
The first 20 minutes, I kind of wanted to turn it off.
Really?
The second that like French kid came up and he was just like delivering his lines, I'm like, I hate this so much. Like I was just like, I hate you, French kid. His name is Pierre Ruffini. I hate you, Pierre Ruffini.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
No hate going out to Pierre Ruffini if you're out there listening. That's. I mean, I'm sure he's actually probably a really nice guy.
I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm just messing with you.
He was a kid when he did it.
He was a kid. Pierre Ruffini would love to have you on the podcast.
Oh yes, please, Pierre Ruffini, if you are out there and you actually are listening, I would love to have you on as a guest. We'll do any movie you want to do.
Yes.
Like I don't care.
Or Jean-Claude Van Damme, if you're also listening.
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme definitely isn't listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, no offense, Pierre, but you're a lot more realistic for us.
Yeah.
So please. Yeah, I think that's Bloodsport.
Yeah.
A movie that is like kind of the worst version of a really cool archetype, right? If you want to watch Bloodsport, before you watch Bloodsport, I recommend you watch Enter the Dragon, you watch Karate Kid, just watch all of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. Watch
that's a lot. What is that, like 1,000 episodes?
Just watch it. Just do it. It's good.
How many episodes is that total?
I don't know. It's a lot, but it's good. It's better. It's a better time investment than Bloodsport, even though Bloodsport is only an hour and a half.
I have no clue how it made 50 million on a budget of 1.5 to 2.3 million.
See, that just goes to show that this is a podcast made by two people who don't know anything about movies, and we're judging it. And here we are, basically like, we're not millionaires. They made millions of dollars off of this. So we're obviously in the wrong here. We're completely wrong about our opinions on this movie.
Somehow.
But yeah, watch like all of the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu movies. Watch Rocky. Watch and or read
Jackie Chan. Any of his movies.
Jackie Chan.
You know the choreography is going to be tight.
Watch and or read Baki and Kengan Ashura. Kengan Ashura in particular, read the manga. I seriously highly recommend it. I can't give it enough praise. Yeah, just
Watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
that has nothing to do
Yeah,
with.
I'm just you were just
Um,
name dropping stuff, and I wanted to add something.
well, that's the thing is that like I enjoy these types of movies. I love martial arts. I love martial arts movies. I love MMA. I love I love all that stuff. But this is the bottom of the barrel.
Yes, this was
or pretty
truly.
darn close. All right, so welcome. Actually, this is a very last minute addition here. We actually did get Jean-Claude Van Damme onto the podcast.
Yep. Say hello, Jean.
Hey guys.
He's in studio with. Wait, what are you doing? Why are you getting so low?
He's doing the splits.
Oh, that you're doing the splits, huh?
Oh shit!
Oh,
Get me out of here!
Why?
He locked the doors. He locked the doors.
John? Why? Ah, the agony.